One of the Boys is the title track and opening track to this album. Katy Perry said in an interview this song is a coming of age type song about how women start blooming and men start developing crushes, and women kind of grow out of that tomboy phase and start to want to do more feminine things like paint their fingernails and stuff like that. And I can't personally relate to this track, obviously, because I'm not female. I like most of Katy Perry's tracks, actually, because they're more for a mainstream audience that both men and women can enjoy, but I think this one is more for the female demographic, and that's okay. Though this is not a personally, song that I would enjoy, I still put it on when I play this album, because I enjoy Katy Perry's music, and I enjoy a pop album for now and again. And I enjoy most songs in this album. It's more just this one that's kind of a skipper for me. So I usually just put this one on, and it's kind of like a background song for me while I'm studying or whatever. This song is just kind of on in the background, and then I really kind of absorb myself in the rest of the album. This song's just all right. Let's move on to the next one. Also, though I don't connect to this song on a personal level, I can appreciate it to some degree, especially some of the lyrics in the first verse are very amusing, where Katy Perry says that she can belch the alphabet, and she's kind of singing a more tomboy type lifestyle in the first verse, and then becomes more female and feminine later on in the song. So I can appreciate it for its storytelling standpoint, but it's just okay. But I do appreciate the song and its place on the record. But anyways, yes, let's actually move on to the next track. The next track on this album is I Kissed a Girl, and is one of my personal favorites from this album. It was the debut single from this record, and I appreciate it for many reasons. One of them being its exploration of bicurious themes, because remember, this was released in the early to late 2000s, and bisexual people, gay people, lesbians were only just starting to be respected and accepted in society. They were still kind of shunned and looked down upon at this time, and we were only starting to accept and respect these groups of people at the time. Now, LGBTQ plus community is accepted these days and is looked at and seen as a good thing. We actually have tons of people studying these communities these days, but back then, this was not a respected, accepted group of individuals. And though I'm not part of the community myself, I heavily respect and accept it because I have a sister who is in this community. I have friends that are. So I definitely have a lot of respect and acceptance for it. And I'm very curious about it, not in a bi-curious way, but just curious about the culture and the ways that people in the community are. I think that they are very brave people because there is an alarming amount of straight people compared to bisexuals, gays, and lesbians. So it's sometimes hard for them to find a relationship because most of the people they might have a crush on are probably straight, and it's just hard to build that connection because there's a lot of straight men and straight women. So it can sometimes be harder for them to find a relationship compared to a straight person. So I commend their bravery to go out there outside their comfort zones and, ask out people of the same sex. I also respect this song for bringing awareness to it, as bicurious themes were also a new topic in music. Not a lot of people were talking about it in pop music at the time. So I respect this track for exploring those themes at a time that was controversial. This song was actually first controversial when it came out for discussing bicurious themes, but nowadays is a highly respected track, and I highly respect it and love it. I also just can't help but laugh at the track. It's very amusing, just her detailing bicurious themes, singing I Kissed a Girl and I Liked It, the taste of her cherry chapstick. It's just some of the lyrics are very funny, and it's just, the LGBTQ plus community is not something to laugh at, obviously, but just the way the song is displayed, especially when she says, I hope my boyfriend don't mind it, you can tell that she's not making fun of the LGBTQ plus community, but is having fun with the topic and is kind of, I want to say, being satirical. She's making fun of it, but not in a bad way. She's not trying to offend anybody. She's just kind of having a satirical take on the LGBTQ plus community, and I think it's pretty funny. Just her describing, like, how a bi-curious person might feel when they kiss someone of the same sex and how they might be seen by the rest of the world, as she hopes that people don't mind it, but people are a little unaccepting of it, and she doesn't know how her boyfriend's going to react or how the rest of the world is. It is a great take it's a great satirical take on the LGBTQ plus bi-curious community. I love this track. This is one of my favorites. I love listening to this one. I heavily come back to this song whenever I listen to this album. It's a good song. One of my favorites. Shut up and put your money where your mouth is. That's what you get for waking up in Vegas. Now that's what I'm talking about. The album really starts to pick up here. That first track was pretty dull and cringe, but the last two tracks, I Kissed a Girl and this track, Waking Up in Vegas, the album's really starting to pick up here. This is why I remember the album being great. It's tracks like this. I mean, that lyric, shut up and put your money where your mouth is, I would say could go for today as well. That line could totally be applied to today. These days, unless you're rich and can put your money where your mouth is, then nobody cares about you, right? Like, you're just a shadow if you can't pay for anything you want, right? You're just lame. And that's the kind of society we live in today, unfortunately. So I would say that line could totally apply to today. I mean, think about it. These days, you always hear about if someone's not rich, they're not cool, and they're just boring, and nobody wants to hang out with them. Nobody wants to be your friend or be your girlfriend or boyfriend because you don't have money, right? Unless you have money, people don't want to be around you. It's sad, right? It's really sad, but that lyric could totally be applied to today, and I relate to it, right? I relate to it on a high level. Because of my disability, it's hard for me to get a job, and I'm trying. I've actually been to job interviews lately. That's actually why new episodes have been delayed. I haven't been working on new episodes because of the fact that I'm going to job interviews and stuff. But, I can totally relate to this because, I've been on dating apps recently, unfortunately. My relationship did not work out recently. A few days ago, I actually went through a bad breakup, and from the girls I've seen, I would start talking to them and messaging with them, and then it would just be, are you rich? No. Okay, then we're not going to be a good match, right? Like, I've seen a lot of that recently, and it's sad. It really breaks my heart that people have stooped so low as to care about only money, right? I think that's depressing. Anyways, enough on my mini rant there. This song is about going on a crazy road trip with friends and stopping in Vegas. And fun fact, this song might not have even made the record if it wasn't for the producer that thought it was strong enough. You see, at the time, Katy Perry was actually between record deals at the time. She got one at Columbia Records, and then they dropped her, and she went from record deal to record deal until finally landing at another record deal, which is not said, but she gets a record deal, and she records her debut album, this album, One of the Boys, and this song survives. See, this song was written like 5 or 6 years before it was even recorded, but it survived and it made the album with the rest of the songs, and I'm glad, because it's a killer song. I love it. The music video is also really funny. I love this song. This is a pretty good one, and it tells a pretty good story about going on a road trip with your friends, and I think the best thing is that it's universal, It really could go towards men or women, because it doesn't exactly say it's about a women's road trip. It just sings about a road trip to Vegas, right? And you really could put this towards men or women. It's universal, and it's a fun one to sing at times in the shower. I'd be lying if I said I haven't sung this before. It's a pretty good song, and I've read something on this song, and I totally agree. I've read that this song has been covered by country artists, and that the lyrical themes make it fit in several different genres, and I would agree. This song is perfect for many different genres. It doesn't have to stick to being a pop song. Just the way it's written and the way the lyrics go, it really could fit in any genre. And that's how you know you've got yourself a good song, when it can fit in any genre placement. Now I want to look up some country versions of this song. I'm going to do that after I'm done recording this album review, because I do want to get this out. I want to get this episode done out to you guys. This is a great song. Let's move on to the next one. Thinking of You has got to be one of the best songs on this record. Going through the history of this song, I have learned that this song actually started out as an open mic song. This is one of Katy Perry's oldest songs. She started writing it when she was just an open mics artist, before she was even signed to a record label, before she was writing albums. She was just going to open mic nights with her acoustic guitar and just playing and singing, and she just naturally wrote this track about an ex, as a lot of people do in music. And it's a beautiful song about going through something. It's one of Katy Perry's most personal songs, and what I love is it doesn't have all the glitter and makeup and lipstick that Katy Perry usually has. It doesn't have that flavor over it. This is just an acoustic pop song with Katy Perry singing about a personal experience. There's not all that over-the-top production. It's just comes off as natural, and I love that about this. Now, I do love the over-the-topness that Katy Perry's pop music has, but it's nice to just kind of slow that down for a minute. Like, just pause for a minute and just have a very natural, personal song to even out the record. And this song does that, and I love it, and I've heard it gets a lot of positive reception at their live shows too, because it slows things down, and I don't blame people for loving it. It's a great, great song. Probably one of the best on the record. Mannequin is probably one of my favorite songs on the album instrument-wise. It's got this rock influence in the pop style. There's this like punching drum throughout the song to go with the pop elements, and I really love it. It's a pop song with this punching presence, and it's amazing. And it's got a great topic behind it. It's about a guy who's just way too sober and way too serious to care about things in the relationship. He's just a very serious guy, and Katy Perry told Rolling Stone magazine that this song actually fixed some of the problems in her relationship, and when she writes, "You're not a man, you're a mannequin," and it's basically saying, I love you so much, so wake the fuck up, man, you know? You don't need to be so serious all the time, right? You're just standing there all serious like a mannequin, you know? It's a good song. I can't relate to it on the level of what the song's about, but I still enjoy it because of that punching presence and Perry's voice. She's always had a great voice back then and now. So this is a pretty good song. This album's pretty good so far. You're So Gay is the goofiest song on this album. It's goofy in a good way. I just love it. Just the lyrical themes is just so absurd that you just can't help but laugh and love it. In an interview, Katy Perry was asked if this encourages a negative stereotype, and she replies that every time she plays it, people leave her concerts laughing. So it's not meant to make fun of gay people. It's just made to laugh and have a good time. And what a good time listening to this is. Okay, so Katy Perry says in an interview that this song is about an ex she had who would take her eyeliner and write like emo notes in the bathroom, and he was just all around just a goofy indie rock stereotype type of guy, and would act all gay. She even says in the chorus, "You're so gay and you don't even like boys," and she says it's just awkward making out with a guy like that. This is just a great song, and some of the stories she would tell behind this song are just funny as fuck. You just can't help but laugh And just knowing that context makes listening to the song even funnier. Like, just picturing this guy just writing these little emo notes in the bathroom and just scrubbing things on the mirror while you're listening to this. And just fully picturing a guy in the indie rock stereotype while you're listening to this just makes listening to this a freaking fever dream. You can zone out while listening to this, and suddenly you're having a fever dream about some indie rock stereotype. It is weird. It is bizarre. It's a fever dream, daydream experience. Sometimes I feel like I'm freaking high listening to this. Oh my god. This is great. Let's move on before I zone out and start fully describing some type of weird daydream to you guys. This next song on the album is an absolute classic. I'm, of course, talking about the song Hot and Cold. This song was freaking massive back in the 2000s when it came out. You couldn't escape it. I saw it on the radio in the car when I would be riding with my parents as a kid. I heard it at the mall. You know, you'd be shopping with your friends and you would hear it over the overhead speakers at the mall. You'd hear it at the doctor's office while you're waiting for your doctor appointment, right? You know, I would hear this basically anywhere that plays music, even if you were walking down the street and you would hear like the mall speakers or like the outside stores with their speakers playing music. You would literally hear this everywhere. It was massive. But it's still somehow classic. I still love this song. You know, every time I hear the chorus, 'cause you're hot and you're cold, you know, it's a classic song all around, no matter what, even though it was played to fucking death, right? And I know some people hate it, and that's because it was played to death for them. But the reason it's not played to death for me, which I want to make a good suggestion for you guys who's listening to this, don't listen to radio. It will play any new popular song to death. Either buy CDs like I do, because you can choose when to play them, or stream with Apple Music or Spotify, because you can choose when to listen to a song or skip it, and that way you never get tired of a song, because you can choose when to listen to it. That's my strategy for, you know, big popular songs not being played to death for me. You know, that's how big songs, big single songs don't get ruined for me. And they won't be ruined for you if you follow this strategy. This is still one of my favorite Katy Perry songs of all time. I love this. I listened to it for the first time in a long time to make this album review. And I was jamming out, I'll be honest with you. If You Can Afford Me has got to be one of the most relatable Katy Perry songs in her discography. And maybe even one of the most relatable pop songs of all time and one of the most relatable of the 2000s. I heavily relate to this. This is a song where Katy Perry is telling a lover that you can't just throw her away. You know, she's not some person that you can just throw away when you're done with, and she's worth more than you think. She's not worth a few dollars, you know. She's worth a lot of time and love and resources, right? She's not someone that you can just throw away and treat as a side piece. And I totally relate to this. I've been treated as a side piece throughout my lifetime. You know, I was in a relationship with a girl once, and it turned out that she didn't actually love me. She just wanted to use me to cheat on her boyfriend, who was supposedly cheating on her when he wasn't even cheating on her in the first place. She just had a fucking hunch that he was cheating, so with no evidence decided to get back at him anyway, hurting not only him but me. And she was just an absolute jag-off, right? And this song is about telling someone that they are worth a lot more than you think. And that's what I would tell that girl, that ex-girlfriend of mine, that I'm not someone you can just throw away. I'm not your fucking side piece. I have value, bitch, right? And that's something that I've told her. Whenever she's messaged me on Instagram before being like, you want to get back together? And I'm like, hell no! You don't treat me like I have any fucking value, right? So this song is very relatable. Next time she tries to DM me, I'm just going to send her this song. I think that'd be perfect. I love this track. Lost is another one of those more acoustic pop songs that Katy Perry does. And these are some of my favorites she does. She steps away from the whole upbeat, silly, you know, poppy stuff that she usually does, and slows down the tempo for some more acoustic, emotional, ballady type songs. And this song, once again, captures that emotion really well. For the research I've done, this seems like a song about a girl who moves from the big city to a small town and does a bunch of drugs and the effects of ecstasy and all that. And it's a pretty good song. I enjoy it. I wouldn't say it's my favorite off the album. I'd say there's one song on this album that did the acoustic pop vibe a little better, but it's still a pretty good song. Not a bad one at all. Still decent. Self-Inflicted is probably the darkest song on this album, in my opinion, as it seems to be about the effects of a cutting addiction. In the lyrics, she says, "These wounds are self-inflicted, baby, you are the weapon I choose," which seems like a song about cutting yourself. In the first verse, she says, "Remember when I dove into the crowd and cut my knee?" So it seems like she found enjoyment in the pain of cutting herself because of negative emotions, and from that day forward became addicted to causing herself self-inflicted wounds and cutting herself. It's probably the darkest song on this album, and the instrumentation only fits the vibe even more. This is more rock influenced. You can hear more electric guitars and vibrant drums, just a very more compressed and crunchy mix than the rest of the songs on this album, and I really enjoy it. And coming from someone who's had deep depression and negative thoughts, I really enjoy this song because of the relatability. I've never cut myself, but I definitely can sympathize with the dark emotions being felt here, and this is definitely one of my favorite songs off the album. I'm enjoying this album much more than I thought. I'm more of a rock, metal, country kind of guy, but I'm definitely enjoying this pop album a lot more than I thought I would. Coming back from this album as a kid to an adult, I'm really enjoying this. I instantly fell in love with this next track, I'm Still Breathing. There's these beautiful, soft-spoken vocals going on throughout the song. It's almost like a lullaby. There's just these very soothing vocals. It's almost like whispering, but it's not like... It's like whispering, but while you're still talking. I'll try and mimic the vibe. I don't know what it is. Maybe you can tell this is mixed, but it's really beautiful. I'm going to try and mimic the vibe. It's kind of like, I'm still breathing. You know, so it's like she's still singing and you can still hear her clearly, but it's in this whispering vibe. It's just a very beautiful track, and there's like this acoustic guitar in the mix with the more poppy, glamorous mix. There's just some beautiful emotion being captured in the instrumentation and the vocals. I love this track. This one's right up there with me. This one's definitely shooting up to the top as favorites from this album. So this next song, Fingerprints, actually has some fun facts about it. This was actually written for the theme song to a reality show called Fight Girls, and it was a reality Oxygen TV show back in 2008, and apparently the producer who produced this song also co-wrote and co-produced the song You're So Gay a few tracks earlier. The song's actually really good and really fun. It returns to that electric guitar pop rock vibe that I really liked 2 tracks ago or 3 tracks ago or whatever. I really like this song, and I really like its fast, energetic, angry vibe that Katy Perry is giving off on this track. It's really good. Another classic from this album. The final track on this album is actually a bonus track, and it's alright. It's called I Think I'm Ready, and it's a song about being ready to be an independent woman, and it's okay. I mean, I can't really relate to it. I'm not a woman. I could see how some feminists in the female movement could really make this their anthem, or could really like this song. But for me, it's just all right. I am all for the woman empowerment, and I love songs about female empowerment. It's just, I feel like other female artists have done this style of song or this vibe better before her and after her, to be honest. It's not a diss at Katy Perry. I'm not saying she's not good at promoting woman empowerment or writing songs about female empowerment. Female empowerment's a great thing. It's just, I feel like this isn't on par. I feel like Katy Perry's done this better before. I feel like other female musicians have done it better before. And this feels like a song they just kind of threw on at the end of the album like, we need a bonus track. Let's write something real quick. It felt kind of lazy and felt like, they just needed to add something. They needed to add some flavor to the album. The song's not bad. I'll listen to it. I don't skip it per se because there are good lyrics about how she is able to open her own doors and pay for her own food and stuff and doesn't need to split the bill and whatever. It's just, it almost feels, what's the word? Almost like they're trying too hard to rhyme or trying too hard to be empowering. It doesn't feel natural almost. It kind of just feels like they wanted a song they could promote towards women and quickly threw this on as a bonus track because female empowerment was popular at the time and there were artists that had done it better and put more thought into their lyrics. I don't know. This is just not for me. It's just all right. That's what I think of this final track. Let's move on to my final thoughts on the album because I do love this record for the most part. In the end, I enjoyed this album a lot more than I thought I would going into this. There are so many good songs on here, like the song You're So Gay, which is great at being comedic and serious at the same time. I love the serious subject matter of I Kissed a Girl, which brings attention to lesbians in the LGBTQ plus community as a whole. Waking Up in Vegas is a fun party song. There's other fun songs on here. Like, there's great rock-inspired songs like Fingerprints and I'm Still Breathing. Or Hot and Cold, the big standout hit, which still slaps to this day and hits hard every time I listen to it. There are just so many good songs on this album. Overall, there's only like one or two tracks that I kind of pass off. Like, I do kind of pass on One of the Boys and the bonus track, I'm Ready. So I'd say there's only really two songs that are just kind of meh for me. So I'm gonna give this album an 8 out of 10. I think it's pretty good. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. This has been Corruption of Colton Podcast, and we'll be back with another album review soon.